Hello and welcome back to Sports for Dummies. In today's episode, we're doing a review of round 10 in the AFL. Johnny, what a round. It's just shown how open this league is right now. What is going on? You can't tip to save your life. No one's safe aside from Sydney, who's clearly leading the charge. And then you got Richmond and North Melbourne, who very well and truly, North can't win a game to save their life. And Richmond bet the top side. What's going on?
It was a really weird round of football. Like some of the results, I'm all for upsets, but there was a couple of smackings that you just didn't expect to see. That Hawthorn Port Adelaide game, Port Adelaide coming from nowhere. At the start of the round, if you said Port would only win by 4 points, you'd be pretty disappointed in that effort. Yet they won, which a lot of other sides didn't. So I'm excited to get into it.
We'll jump straight into the first game, which was a big upset. Yeah, the Suns take on the Cats. The Suns with a flogging 164 to the Cats, 100 points. Now, Johnny, are the Suns genuine final contenders? You've been making a massive scene saying you don't believe this. What about after now?
I still don't believe it. Now, good on them for beating the Cats, but the Cats pretty much dropped everyone. Rested, managed. They've got a good record at a home game against Geelong. And they were sensational on the weekend. Noah Anderson, how good was he? 40 touches. Lukosius kick 5, Humphrey kick 5, King kick 4. I think it said more about the Cats, to be honest. They've had a glaring problem all year. But I think after the Melbourne game, they've been figured out. Their midfield's just horrible. And if you look at the stats in each game, their number one possession getters, 5th or 6th, on the disposal count, and
they're not getting much of the ball, which is a problem for them.
They're getting beating. So Max Home was their number one possession getter. He had 32 touches, and that ranked him equal 4th on the ground. They're getting smashed in the clearances. But what's happened is sides are lowering their eyes when they're going forward, while Geelong were able to, intercept, beforehand. Now teams are actually just chipping around that, lowering their eyes. I'm not sold on Gold Coast yet. I'm not going to buy into them yet. They've got a game against Carlton this week in Melbourne. If they can beat us, then I'll start to think maybe they are a possible chance. Obviously, mathematically, they're in the 8.
They bumped themselves up into the 8, which is good for them, and knocked down Geelong to 3rd, which is fabulous for Essendon.
So, yeah, I still don't have them finishing in the top 8 yet.
Yep. To say I was surprised, I was. But then when you think about how Geelong, why did they rest all those players? Did they think they were going to win, or did they?
I think that the Tom Hawkins one, he's been out of form.
That makes sense,
and that makes sense. Jeremy Cameron that's a legitimate concussion. But, so I think they rested Duncan. Stanley's been out of form, so that was probably warranted. But to take all of them out for one game, and I still think Tom Hawkins playing, whether he kicks a goal or not, he at least gives them, a structure.
He takes their best
defender. Conway started well for Geelong. He took a mark in the first 5 seconds, big contested grab. And I'm like, oh, how good's this? 2 seconds later, he kicks the ball back to the goal square and gives them their first goal. And I didn't expect, they won by 60 points. So all credit to them, but I'm not on the bandwagon just yet.
It was a big game by them, but yeah, I think I'm the same. As much as I was big on Gold Coast, this league is so open, and I think there's some better teams just in that bottom 8 that take that spot eventually. Brings us to the next game. We had your boys, Sydney v Carlton. Swans 117 to the Blues 65. Chad Warner, BOG, best on ground by a mile, 28 disposals, 3 goals, and Heaney, I think, had 24 and 3 goals. So their midfield is playing very good. You had Newman with 32 disposals and Curnow with the 2 goals. Are Carlton's injuries to blame, Johnny, for this loss?
Now, that's an easy one, and, a general supporter will be like, yep, have so many injuries, and that's to blame. The answer is no, though.
You guys are up.
And that's the point. So there's 2 points on that. So We were up by 4 goals.
Yeah.
And this is again, we were in front. There is a pattern since Voss took over in 2022, and I actually delved deep into it. I don't have my phone on me, but I can pretty much remember each game. Round 2 against the Bulldogs last year, we were up by 6 goals at halftime. We only won by 2 goals. Round 4 against Hawthorn in 2022, we were up by 5 goals, only won by a point. Round 5 against Port Adelaide in 2022, we were up by 49 points at halftime. We only won by 1 point. In round 22 of 2002, we were 2 goals up against Melbourne with 2 minutes to go, playing for a finals berth, lost. We were 4 goals up against Collingwood in round 23, round 22 in 2002. 2022. I got a bit stuck there. Yep. We lost, missed the finals. So we missed the finals berth on that. 2023, we lost to Brisbane in the prelim final. We were up by 5 goals at the start of the game. Cost us a grand final spurt. Then you go to this year. We're up against Adelaide 3 goals with 6 minutes to go. Lost the game. We're up by 7 goals last week against Melbourne. We won by a point. And then we were 4 goals up against Sydney. We had injuries on the weekend, and that was always going to be tough to beat Sydney. That was no doubt about that. But there is a pattern, whether we're full strength or not, that when we get in front, we stop playing. So it can't be game plan because we get in front every fucking game. This is a mental thing, and I thought we'd sort of got over it. But this has cost us not only a finals, but it cost us finals berth, grand final spot, and now we just can't play football. Now those ones, it's like, okay, well we're improving each year. We're out of the 8 now, and we've been up in these games, and we keep not delivering. Now, the injury list is horrible, but that's no excuse. Then why were we 4 goals up? There's a problem mentally with Carlton, and it needs to be addressed because our best football clearly can. This is the annoying thing.
You match it.
We can beat sides.
Yeah.
Like it's not even, and that was the worst one. That was the worst game on the weekend by us. We lost by 52. Everything else would have been close. But there's a clear mental deficiency that when we hit the front, that we just stop. You saw it against Melbourne. We watched that game together, and I said, "Watch us stop." And we just stop and crumble, and that is purely between the ears.
Well, Kerno kicked a goal in the first quarter.
That's good.
Which was, well, we don't know what I said was, remember how we came out in the preview saying if Kerno can get involved, you guys looked really good. Sydney just really, they nullified you guys. They stopped your play.
Their midfielders were better than our forwards.
They were incredible. I mean, Heaney and Warner, 6 goals between them. I mean... the fact is they've got who just got not a suspension but
Luke Parker in the twos got 4 weeks, and so that's I guess the answering to the Carlton question. How good are Sydney though?
They're so far above.
They're so far above, and I think
the next is Essendon. You got to look. Let's be real, right? Between 3rd and 10th, there's 4 points, so the 8 is wide open. Essendon's got a clearance of 2 points to 3rd, which is Geelong. And then it's 4 points between you and Geelong.
Well, they're 5th. They're 5-0 against top 8 sides. So not only did they beat the sides they should, they're beating all the best sides. They're clearly the best side in the comp right now.
Yeah.
And I mean, Heaney's, I guess, elevation of his game into the midfield this year has been great. But Chad Warner's been absolutely sensational. You got Goulden. Their forward line is just, we were talking about this when we did the preview. How's this forward line going to mix with our buddy? It works perfectly.
Oh, it's elite. And I think, speaking about Heaney and Warner, Heaney has to be in the running. He has to be leading the Brownlow.
Well, I think I reckon you can go through and Warner's going to take votes off him. That's going to be the hard thing. Well, this is good for merit. So this is good for merit.
He didn't have a good game though.
He didn't have a great game, but there's nobody else next to him. Well,
that's true.
Warner's a goal-kicking midfielder. Like they stand out, which means there's going to be games where, Heaney needs 3 votes, but he might only get 2.
That's very, very
But
true.
They're powerful. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think the players care about that.
No,
this isn't basketball. They want to win a premiership.
It's a good race for 17 now. Collingwood, Carlton, Essendon, all playing some good footy aside from Carlton. But Carlton are so back to the injury ridden. I mean, how many injuries do you have? You're like 15
I think
or
it's
something?
18, and I
18.
think it's
And Wiedering
8,
got subbed off.
and then so I think we have 8 from our prelim side out. So
That's
you got
ridiculous.
players like you got Motlop to come back in, Sard to come back in, Wiedering. Obviously was subbed off at halftime. Like there's some key pieces there. Fogarty being out has been like our small forward lines has been average apart from always. Durden's been rubbish. We need Fogarty back because he was the best tackler inside 50 for a forward at the start of the year before he hurt his wrist against Fremantle. So he comes back in. So Carlton at round 14 were 4th last. So we know we can get back in. We're, even points with everybody else. Like we're not completely out, but something's got to give. And that was a bad loss on the weekend.
It's anyone's game, as I said.
Yep.
You guys are so close from being in the top 4, but you can also be in the bottom 8.
Correct. It's
a competitive league. That brings us to, which was an absolute thriller game.
You called it. You said it was going to be close.
Pies v Adelaide. Well, it was just history. Like it was just the past few games has always been close. Pies had a good lead.
They've got a lot of injuries too.
Yeah, DeGoey as well.
Yeah.
So you got the Pies 78 to the Crows 74. Yeah, Dacos 41 disposals, Pendlebury 2 goals. You don't normally see Scott Pendlebury leading the goal kicking.
He's been sensational.
He had Crouch with 34 and Rochelle with 2 goals. Now in the last final minutes of the game, Johnny, did Isaac Rankin run too far? Were the umpires right with that call?
Well, before I get into that, how good a footy has he been playing the last 4 or 5 weeks?
When you said
He's
it,
making a genuine case for all Australian. Him in the midfield has been fantastic. I think there's been footage to show that he actually did go too far. Like they actually did measure it. That he did.
You know how on the field you've got like the different way they've mowed the lawn, or like how they've positioned.
Yeah.
There's like the square, the rectangle. You can see that's 15. So that's how they judge it.
I thought so.
In
the moment, I didn't think he did. I've seen that been done many times. They've shown footage, I think, that he did run too far, so I'm happy with it. But in the moment, I didn't think he'd run too far.
Can I just say this? In that moment, you know he did his hammy?
Yes.
Did a hammy strain?
Yeah.
3 weeks out?
Yeah.
In the moment, though, for those umpires, do you reckon it was the right call? Because they were running down 20 seconds left. They're down by 4.
It's a good question.
Do you think it was drop the whistle a bit, let the footy play, or do you think it was a good call from the umpire?
That's a great question because that's been spoken about a lot. No, if he generally thought it was a free kick,
Then
you pay it.
That's a good point.
This idea that you umpire it differently for the moment, like you do in the first quarter, or you adjudicate it differently in a final. No, I think you umpire you at the standard all the time. I didn't think it was too far, but there's been footage to show that it was. And if the umpire actually got it right, and he generally thought it. I don't like if they think there's a free kick and not to pay it. I don't think that's right.
Yeah. Collingwood are now in good form. 6 wins. Well, not 6 wins. Out of the last 6, they've got 5 wins and a draw.
Against the Bombers.
They're looking pretty good.
They're looking very good. They're making their title defense is well alive. The premiership hangover over such a thing, that's gone. Nick Dacos is absolutely slaughtering the league at the moment. I think we all took him a little bit for granted. This guy has put together a month of football. I know there's been other players who have had a really good month. He's as good. He's the best in the league at the moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, would he be up there with the Brownlow?
I don't think he'd be. Well, on pure disposals, he's going to be. Would he be up there? I think he's going to poll well. I don't think he'd be in front just yet. I think Merritt, Heaney would probably be in front. Chad Warner's definitely.
Yeah. Gordon maybe even make a play for a few of those games.
So this is where Sydney, they've got that star power. See, Dacos isn't going to have too much to take it away, and he's doing it with injuries. But take the Brownlow out. His dominant performance against Carlton. He did it against West Coast, and he had 41 on the weekend. I think he's the best player in the league right now.
Yeah. Oh, he's made a statement after Carlton. Carlton game is...
It's the moments that he's doing it in.
Yeah.
And you don't have to win the Brownlow to be the best player in the league.
No.
He right now is the best player in the league.
Yeah, that's very, very
And
true.
he probably was last year.
Oh, without doubt. It's just his 4 weeks out.
He's absolutely killing it. And the Pies are looking good. And this is the thing, coming back to, they've been slaughtered with injuries as well. So there's no excuse.
Degoe, I think, what was it?
I think he's touch and go. Yeah, and he's touch and go. So they're really struggling. Like they're, McQuarrie looks to come back in. Mycheck's been out for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah.
Did his hammy against Carlton.
I think he's on the charge to come back this week.
So they should have some good ones to come in.
Which is good. I mean, good for them. They're fifth. They're in a good position, playing good footy, and
they've got their players to come back.
What does that... Adelaide are just...
Good. I mean, good performance, but they're too far back. I can't see them making a run.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think I had them top 4.
I had them finishing in the 8.
I had Port, Brisbane, Collingwood, and Adelaide. Yeah,
it's such a league that they're going to annoy sides. Like you don't. You're not. This is the thing. Your side might not make the 8. Like I said, I don't think Gold Coast will make the 8, but you don't want to play them, especially over there. They can cause some damage.
All right, we'll jump into the next game. The Giants play the Bulldogs. Giants 43 to the Dogs 70. He had Whitfield 31, Hogan 3 goals, Treloar 35, and Harms 2 goals. Now the Giants only had 2 goal scorers, Toby Green and Jesse Hogan with 6 goals combined. What happened, Johnny? What's happened to the Giants? Because
the Dogs kicking flattered. They should have won by 10 goals. They kicked 4 posters. They kicked 22 points. Dogs match up well against the Giants. And we did say that going in.
It's a genuine rivalry.
They just don't look like they've got the edge.
No.
Now, Toby Green kicked 3 goals on the weekend, so I don't want to be too hard on him. But I did say at the start of the year he's the most valuable player. And when I mean that, to an actual side. And
do you still believe it?
Well, yes, because it's actually it's correlating. So 2 years ago, they made the finals just on his back. He played with the edge last year. They made a prelim final. Before going into this game, he hadn't won one. Well, going into that game, he hadn't won one one-on-one contest. And the Giants aren't playing with any single. There's no edge.
No.
There's no edge. There's no, for lack of a better word, no cunt about them. Like they're
There's
just
synergy.
It showed against Carlton. We smacked them in the mouth. Essendon did the same. Sydney did the same. That flattered them, and they just don't look like they have that toughness about them. It's like they got a little bit happy with themselves. They look great when they're on, but when there's any type of resistance, they're out.
Crumble. And the Doggies are a team as much as they're a yo-yo. When they're on, they're on. And you don't want to come up against them. I mean, their disposal efficiency and their ability to move the ball quick, they showed that.
Well, Treloar had 35, and they put Ed Richards in the midfield, who I thought was really good. He had 27 touches, and he just gave him, because he's got good ball skills.
Yeah.
That's 2 in a row now for the Dogs. And if they can... And they've got the second best percentage in the league, and they're 11th. So they can damage sides.
So they're only like 1 game out.
They're only one game out as well. So they're playing a bit better now in the next couple of weeks. The thing with the Dogs is, what happens next. This is the thing. They're a very easy side to fall in love with, because when they do play well, they're really good to watch.
Yeah.
But straight away in that same breath, they'll go lose by 10 goals to someone.
They're a lot sexier. It's almost like St Kilda. They're a lot sexier than St Kilda when they win. But then when they lose, they look like you just come up against a training drill.
They're much better to watch than St Kilda.
Yeah, but
St Kilda is shit. That better be the next game.
You're like, don't even talk about it. It is the next game.
Oh, God.
So, we have the Saints v Freo. Saints 55.
Boring.
The Dockers 72. You had Marshall 31. Owens 3 goals. Over at Freo, you had 30 for Sarong and O'Meara with 2 goals. Now, to your question, Johnny, and what you were kind of alluding to just before, are the Saints the most boring side in the AFL? Surely.
I don't even want to talk about this game. These guys, one that was a boring game.
Let's look at the
It was
score.
an absolute boring game.
We
And
watched an AFLW scoreline.
Fremantle weren't even good to. Fremantle weren't even good to watch either. But they've got some genuine, like, you got Jackson, Sarong. Amos kicked 2-5. But what's good to watch about St Kilda? Who's good?
They don't have. Well, we've talked about it. They don't have one.
They don't have an A-grade player.
So it's not.
Mitchell, he just handy kick 3. But I mean, you just go through it like Paddy Dow's average.
Can we just state the obvious?
Mason Wood he's one of the most skillful players I've seen. He never rocks up. Windhager, Wilson's okay. Wilkie's handy.
Did King play?
Yeah, he did.
But he's like
He kicked a point. Like he's shit. Like they've got no. Their forward line's terrible. Their midfield is substandard. Their backline's okay. They're just what's their game plan?
No, they're a meh. I think I said that they're a meh team. I mean, what are they now? They're sitting comfortably, I think 14th on the ladder. Yep, and Freo 9th.
I would still rather watch North Melbourne and Richmond. Well, not Richmond, but I would rather watch the shit sides because at least it's just. There's just there's like highlights to watch.
There's elements of it, yeah.
St Kilda have nothing.
There's
And
no
full
flair
credit
about
and
them.
full credit to Freo. They went and got the job done.
Yeah.
O'Meara's last 5 minutes was awesome. He kicked 2 big goals. I mean, this is a guy who had all the talent in the world and he's been killed by injuries and he's, I think he knows he's just a role player now. So good on them to win Fremantle. But I just see a St Kilda game and just be like, I don't want to watch it. There's just no identity. Max King does nothing. Ben King.
Yeah, Ben King.
Sorry.
But what
Max
annoys
King was
me
very good on the weekend.
is they started well. Everyone bought into the fact that they were doing.
Well, they moved the ball well.
They moved the ball well. They're zoning their play, but then I think every team's just found them out. They realised, hey, you give the ball to your stars, play good football, move it quick. They don't have the answers. Like they're a horrible team.
Well, they're supposed to be contending for finals now. What happens to St Kilda? Like what do they do? Ross isn't going to go.
Do they go get an A grader?
Or do they rebuild?
Mid-season draft is on.
That's true, but do you blow this up?
Well, like what's happening at Richmond, all the players are looking at leaving. Rioli was having a discussion.
But that's okay.
Martin,
that's
Baker.
So that's fair. But Richmond played in premierships, and you sort of like we are at the end of an era. We know we're in a transition.
Yeah.
St Kilda made their final last year. This is the year that they were supposed to, get to the second round, third round of, for them. I just don't think they're good enough. I just don't think they have any firepower whatsoever to go deep, like just to. Well, even compete. I mean, as you said, they're 14th?
They're 14th on the ladder.
14th. And they could go lower because they're not going better than Hawthorn or West Coast.
No.
So really on sort of like
where
the clubs are, they're probably third last.
I'm so keen for your premiership tomorrow. Because this is great. And tune in for that, guys. Like, if you've been following
Can we just leave them off?
Like, the premiership is now completely changed. I'm curious where you place Carlton. Anyway, we're going to bring
some big changes.
Bring us to Brisbane take on the Tigers. Speaking of them, so you had the Lions 1-6-3 to the Tigers 44. So a very, very close game, as you can see there. Neil had 36 disposals. Cameron had 5. I think everyone kicked an absolute bag over at the Lions. I think, oh my goodness, who was the blonde-headed guy? Kicked 5 as well.
Oh, Lohman. He
got Rising Star.
He got Rising Star.
Which is awesome.
How good's his Dukes?
Good hands. Plays a lot bigger than he is.
He took some really good grabs. I mean, the opposition wasn't great, but for a young, like he's in his first year, like to bob up, kick 5, like
it's huge. He started the game well for them. He started the energy.
Well, I think he kicked 2 or 3 pretty quickly.
Yeah. I'm just going to quickly. Rioli had 25 and Cumberland had 2 goals. Mm-hmm. Brisbane forward line hits back.
Well, so this is from the question we had last. Okay, I'll answer and then you can give your response.
I just asked the question and then gave my response to the question.
Okay, you go.
Well, they did this with North. They came out, Hipwood, Danaher, kicked a bit, got some form.
Yeah.
What did it do the next game? They didn't show up. Richmond and North are the same team. Richmond just fucking bet Sydney out of an anomaly. There was nothing. How that even happened is beyond me, that Richmond bet Sydney. But this is, if history has a way of repeating itself, this is what. And they were at the Gabba. It's about freaking time that they won their game at the Gabba. And I think it was their second.
Yeah.
But it's like, no, I don't buy it.
Okay.
They're pumping up their. You know what? When they kicked a bag when their forwards kicked a bag against North, it was gather round, and it was in whoop whoop at some shitty square oval. Mate, obviously they're going to kick their bags when they're at the Gabba playing their tunes and pumping it up, and Loman and the freaking Rising Stars kicking a bag. They're like, shit, we need in on this action. I don't buy it.
Okay.
I don't buy it. Richmond suck. However, as an Essendon supporter, I might be eating my words
All right.
this round.
So you're not completely wrong. But the question we had last year was, this is their chance to get into form. So they did what they're supposed to do. And a player like Cameron, he was kicking them out of everywhere. He was an opportunist. A player like him needs a game like this. Danaher had 8 touches in the first 10 minutes.
Yep,
and
so
sprayed him.
and
he kicked 3. This is where you get your confidence back. Hipwood wasn't great, but I thought that was the game that Brisbane needed. They were okay. They've been smacked with injuries. We went through it last week, how many ACL injuries they've got. I think they're playing now with a little bit more freedom, a little bit less pressure inside the club, because I think the club knows, okay, we've had so many injuries of the same type. Maybe this year won't be for us, which can give a club a bit of freedom. Maybe the expectation was weighing them down.
Dropped a bit, yeah.
Can this be the catalyst? And this is what I wanted to see.
Okay.
You're right. They have to back this up.
I don't buy it.
They have to back this up. But in this league that is so close, and we know Brisbane's best can make a grand final, do you really want to play them if they can get their mojo back? And they won by 120 points.
What I'm saying is it's exciting to see for Brisbane supporters, I'm sure. Yep, they kick a bag. Their forwards have a great game. Their midfielders have a great game. It all looks good. Mm-hmm. Back it up.
Yes, I agree.
Because they haven't done it all season.
I agree.
They need to have a good... Like Collingwood. Collingwood and them came out. They both had a lot of pressure because they both made the granny. They were, both 0 and 3? Or 0 and 2?
0 and 3. It
was 0 and 3, yeah. And then Collingwood have found that mojo since.
Yeah, that's fair.
Brisbane have had every opportunity to find it, however. They're injury-ridden. Collingwood's had injuries as well.
That's fair.
So they're... Even with the list that they have going into the games... They're winnable games, regardless of who they're playing. So I think for Brisbane, it's not the expectation. I think you're right. I think they're going to feel a lot less expectation because I think the media is now realising, well, we're in a fun part of the year. Harley Reid's bloody showing some absolutely epic football. And I think that Brisbane aren't on the forecast to make the granny again.
Yeah.
So they're not even on they're not on that shopping list for premiership title. So they don't have the pressure. So they should be able to come into some form next game.
And I think
I won't
that's
buy it
where
until that happens, though.
And that's fair, but I think a game like this, you saw what you needed out of the forwards, especially because Cameron's such a touch player. He looks like he's lost a bit of magic this year. I'm not saying he's
lost his mojo. Where's Austin Powers?
But he looked good, man. He was picking them from anywhere. He was picking pockets and everything. And it doesn't matter who he plays. Players like him get that confidence back into him, and let's hopefully we can see him at his best.
Yeah, he needs to go back in time with Austin, get his mojo, go and find it, bring it back.
I think he had it on the weekend.
He did against a shitty team, so it's pretty good. I want to see him do it like he always has against the good sides. That's when you know he's on.
That's fair.
Brings us to Bombers take on North. The Dons got up 1-0-6 to North 66. Good job by the Bombers. Just a stock standard win. Martin had 27. Peter Wright had 4 goals. Sheasel with 32 and Davis Uniacke with 2 goals. Bombers now, Johnny, premiership contender.
Well, you're clear second now. You're actually creating a little gap. I was actually very impressed by the Bombers, and I mean, you only won by 40.
It wasn't a big win.
But they challenged you. North came out with some fight in that first half, played some reasonable football.
Yeah.
And you shut that down very quickly in the third. And Stringer had a really good third quarter, kicked some crackers.
Mate, his goals, he has some serious confidence going back from 60 metres out and kicking a drop punt.
He wants that back. He wants that money. I think that's another tick, another mental win, because the last 2 times North have played, they've almost rolled yous.
Yeah, within 10 points.
And it was looking, it was only a few points, and you really just put them to the sword in that third quarter, and the game was to bed, and the last quarter was sort of a who cares. Do I think the Bombers are a premiership threat? No.
Why?
I still need to see more, because Essendon have been here 4 times since you've won a final and melted.
So I don't think we're a threat yet. I think we've got a hard run for the next. I think we've got a all right run for the next 2 games. And I think after, when we play your Blue Baggers, then we have like Geelong, and then we have Sydney again at some stage. That's when the true colours of Essendon are going to show. I'm happy we didn't flog them. I'll tell you why. Because it means that in the review, we're actually going to be learning how to be better. Not, hey, how good are we? Pump our chest. We're going to Gold Coast. Oh, sorry, we're versing Richmond. We're going to thrash these guys.
You should thrash Richmond.
We should. What I'm saying is, though,
you should beat Richmond by 10 goals.
We shouldn't have an egotistical mindset going into that because of a win. And we didn't pump North. We should have pumped them by more, which is good, because I think it's going to leave us hungry to win even more and bump that percentage up again.
Well, you haven't achieved anything. So at the end of the day, it's still your second. Well
only
done.
16 premierships.
Yeah, that's when you haven't won a final for 20 years. You haven't achieved anything at the moment. It's
only been like 7,300 and... No, I'm joking.
Exactly. So there is... Essendon have no reason to get ever confident in their abilities whatsoever. Keep playing good football. I still think there are sides of...
How long has it been for Carlton?
Since we won a final?
Yeah.
Last year.
No, not a final. What flag?
95.
Yeah. Just remember that.
I do. But we're talking about that now. And I still think there are sides I still reckon in finals that you wouldn't beat yet. I'd have to see more. You're not better than Sydney. I don't reckon you beat Geelong in a final. I don't think you're better than Melbourne or Port. And I don't think you
hold up.
And then I don't think you'd beat us in a final.
So I don't think we're better than Port. Oh, mate, I reckon we will.
I don't reckon you'll beat us in a couple of weeks.
Mate, Ben Mackay and Harry Mackay, they're not even going to play. It's the same player.
Someone will get injured for that one.
Oh, that's going to be
bit to go for the Bombers, but you're doing well. You're doing really well.
I'm not overly, like you said, I'm not buying in. Ladder position doesn't matter right now. In this league, 10th is a game out from being 3rd. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I'm not getting my hopes up. If we can win the next 2 and then really kick into gear. But it is, like you said, it doesn't matter how many finals you win. It's winning the premiership, and it's being a premiership contender.
I think you guys just need to win one final. That's pass mark.
Well, that's what we all said. We were in the preview, in the predictions at the start of the year. Win the final.
I think you'll be. You could finish first, and just win one final, and I think everyone would just be like, "We did it. The joke's done."
Yeah, that's true. All right. Brings us to the next game. Absolute thriller.
Wow.
Port take on the Hawks. Port Adelaide 80 to Hawks 79. Butters had 32. Rioli had 3 goals. D'Ambrosio.
Briozius.
What the 28 disposals. Hardwick from the back to the front, mate. Move him more. Keep him down there. 5 goals. But the thunder, the power, come out of nowhere. Kick a game winner off the ground with seconds to go. That was a robbery. That was absolutely a robbery, wasn't it? That was a cracking comeback.
You feel sorry for Hawthorn because they
were out. They had a lead.
They were better all day.
Yeah.
What was weird was Will Day was leading contested possessions at 3/4 time, and then they put him off the half back. I don't know why, because he's their best outside user, but also the best contested ball winner. So it was a really weird. It was like they were retreating. It just means they weren't going for the kill. Cheese Butters last quarter, 17 touches, 7 clearances.
Domination.
That's one of the best quarters. That's one of the, like, just willing your side. And like I said at the start, if you said Port would only beat Hawthorn by a point, you'd consider that sort of a failure for Port. But with this round of just upsets and just weird results, good on Port for winning. Win when you need to.
A win's a win. You get the 4 points. As ugly as that wasn't ugly in the end. They literally willed themselves to get that win, and I was sure you can't script that shit.
No, and even that goal.
You can't script it.
Even that goal. I mean,
jump on if you haven't watched it. Go and look at the highlights. Go and watch that goal. It is a freakish goal. Like I would have felt sick if I was a Hawthorn supporter.
And like the thing is, because Port's forward line isn't working well. Like between Georgiadis,
just put Hardwick up there.
Marshall and fuck, I forgot who's their main forward.
Joel.
No. Dixon. Sorry, one goal for Port Adelaide.
Oh fuck, I'm going on Hawthorn. I thought
so between Dixon, Marshall, and Georgiadis, they kick one goal between them.
It's good.
So
effort.
there's issues with apart from Willie Rioli, who's just in everything at the moment.
He's having a
very good little month.
Yeah.
He was super against Geelong last week.
He was shit for a period there.
Obviously he came back from a couple of years off.
I know.
From the drugs and whatnot, but he looks like he's found his place.
Yeah.
And he just creates score involvements. But there's still a lot of gaps in Port Adelaide's game. But considering the week it was, they got up and won. And a lot of sides can't say they did that. And good on the Hawthorn. Good on Hawthorn. They're playing with a lot of spirit. They shit the bed at the end, but going into the game, would you think they would have been within a point?
No, I thought it was going to be pumping.
I thought it was going to be a legitimate pumping.
Everyone's tips would have been thrown out of whack this round.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was going to be another one. I think there was like 85% to 15 on. No, it was it was a lot more than that.
And we were right.
Yeah, it was a point right. It brings us to a very, very exciting upset. The Eagles take on Melbourne. Eagles 1-0-5 to Melbourne 70. Over the Eagles, you had Kelly with 30 disposals, Waterman 5 goals, Oliver 26 disposals, Fritsch 3 goals. Harley Reid, is he even better than what we thought he was at the start?
Yes. It is incredible because I actually thought, and I'm being harsh, there was a couple of games going against Collingwood where Dacos showed him,
I'm boss.
I'm boss.
Yeah.
I'm boss, man. And it just shows how good Nick Dacos is. He fended off when they're going the two best midfielders in the comp, in Oliver and Petrarca. He squatted them away. Most players like to get the ball inside to outside. He gets the ball and goes from outside to inside. He looks for contact. He generally looks for contact. He just wants to cause chaos and carnage. He loves the body contact. He's an absolute weapon. And that goal out of the centre against Petrarca, the ultimate slap in the face. He is better than advertised, and he's an absolute superstar in the game. This isn't you can see signs he's going to be good in 2-3 years. He's here now. He's here to play now.
So everyone's been, and I think the hype and everything, I mean, this kid's played for such a long time, but he's a freak. Like, the way he moves.
He's played for such a long time. He's played 9 games.
I'm saying, like, he's played football his whole life.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Now, he's built, like, I can't imagine when give him 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, he's not at his...
What I'm saying is he's so fresh. Like you said, he's only played the 9 games, but the way he plays is like he's played for 10 years of football. He has the ability to want to... How many young players have the ability to want to run back into where the pressure is? None.
He wants to cause pain. And and this is what I mean. Don't worry about what he's going to be in 5 years, and that will be special.
It's amazing now.
He's here now. He's shown that he can beat the best in the comp.
Yeah.
He's an absolute bull.
That was
Do not rest him. Please do not rest him. Just keep playing the kid.
I'll be honest. He's going to get some Brownlow votes. First year, he's going to get a few.
Well, I tell you who's also been good for them is Waterman.
I was going to say Waterman's been good.
He's leading. He's equal with Kerno on the column.
He's up now, yeah, that makes sense.
Would you have even thought someone from West Coast would be leading the Coleman a month ago?
No, not at all.
They've got a lot to like about them West Coast now. And what does little wins do for their confidence? Just a couple of wins there.
Well, this is what having one superstar player, and he's not even it sounds bad, he's an 18-year-old, this is a really exciting Eagles team to watch for the supporting, like for all the supporters out there. A young kids come into the team, it's almost like they've reignited. Like you said, Yo's playing good football, Cripps,
Kelly's getting a bit of the footy.
All
these older
Waterman
guys
stepping up.
All these older guys are now starting to get back to, and let's remember, West Coast won a premiership in 2018.
Oh, it's not,
so we're not too far away. Like Kelly had 30 touches, Dungan had 29. Jerry McGovern he's always been good down back.
Yeah.
But these players are now starting to get their mojo, and it's all based on this. When we talk about most valuable player, well, this guy has sort of lifted them out of the water,
mate.
Giving them some life.
Surely the potential they were in the fucking drink of the premiership.
Potentially,
they in the life
they were drowned.
He's pulled them out single-handedly.
He's pulled them out single-handedly. Waterman's now become a freak. And then, as we said, these other players are coming back.
There's nothing to... The one thing that you can't teach in that, Harley Reid, like you said, he loves the pressure. He walks into it. He just moves the ball quick.
Yep.
But that goal where he took 3 bounces and slotted it from 50, you can't teach that shit. That can't be taught.
And I reckon the last person who did that for West Coast was Chris Judd. And we know how good he was. What does this say about Melbourne?
That's what confused me. They're arguably, I would say, aside from Carlton, they love contested ball. I thought they would have actually done pretty well against Harley. Mate, they took him apart.
Do you reckon they took him? Do you reckon they were expecting to just roll in and win?
I mean, they must have been because they were over at West Coast.
Yep.
Essendon only. I mean, this is what I mean. Do you want to verse them over in?
It makes the Essendon win look
better.
All that better.
Well, Melbourne are a team that you would have thought. Well, I thought they were going to go over there and I said 50 points.
I thought they would win by 5-6 goals. But again, last week, Melbourne was 7 goals down against Carlton, just lost, came back and won by a point. Geelong, they beat Geelong the week before that. Yeah. This is such a weird year where you have to be on. Well, you have to be on in this league or you will lose on your day. Unless you're playing Hawthorn or Richmond.
Mate.
You're playing Hawthorn or Richmond, if you don't rock up, a side can beat you. From any position.
Eagles, it's crazy because they've come up against arguably the 2 best backmen, Lever and May. Waterman's kicked 5.
That's not bad, is it?
It's a pretty good effort.
Some better forwards haven't been able to do that.
Nah. So they're unpredictable matchups that we wouldn't have probably picked. I wouldn't have thought that he was going to.
But this gives me confidence now with not maybe if West Coast have to travel, but if you have to play them in Perth.
Oh.
I'm going to start having to think about, do you tip West Coast?
Well,
if they can beat Melbourne,
they
theoretically should be able to.
Right now, they would have beaten Geelong with that same team that they rocked up with to Gold Coast. They would have took them apart.
Probably would have beaten Carlton too.
They would have beaten Carlton. I wouldn't have put it past with how good Harley Reid and that was in that game, beating Essendon. The only team I reckon they might not have beaten.
That Essendon win against West Coast now looks a bit better.
The resume looks a bit nicer.
And that's what I said with the Port game. Like you can see these little wins. Oh, you're a little bit disappointed, but it's like, nah, if you're winning, you're not guaranteed to win at the moment.
No, not at all.
It's too difficult.
It's a weird game at the moment. Weird season. They're going to jump straight into the ladder. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'm just going to bring it up for myself. So, in first place, You've got 36 points, sitting 6 points ahead of everyone, so a win and a draw. You've got Sydney in second, you've got Essendon, Geelong in third, Port in fourth, or Yata Puliti. Shit, can't pronounce that. Sorry, guys. In fifth, you've got Collingwood. Sixth, GWS. Seventh, you've got Melbourne. In eighth, you've got Gold Coast, who have moved into the 8. At ninth, you've got Freo. Carlton at 10th, which is actually really weird to see. But look at that, guys. 10th, you've got 24 points. And in third, you've got Geelong with 28. So one game separates third and 10th, which is absolutely insane. Then you've got 11th, Western Bulldogs, 12th, Brisbane Lions. Now, this is the thing. The Lions, if they can get into some form and win a few more games, they're going to be in the 8. They're going to be clearly in the 8. It's just a matter of time. And I think...
they've won 2 of their last 3 and they haven't lost in 3 weeks.
That's what I mean. And I think they're a better team, personally, than Gold Coast and Freo. And arguably Bulldogs on the day. Depends on which one. They're best.
Which Bulldogs are we talking about here?
Depends which one rocks up. In 13th, you've got Adelaide. Very disappointing. They're Brisbane were the most disappointing. I think it's now very evidential. Adelaide the most disappointing this year. In arguably 14th, St Kilda. Hawthorn.
On that, Adelaide still, you don't want to play them.
No.
And they can see their best. I actually think St Kilda are more disappointing on the pure fact that they've gone from exciting to you're just yuck.
Yeah, and I mean, they're equal on points with Hawthorn and West Coast. Who would have thought that?
Okay, so look at this league. We're talking about 15th and 16th, and there's excitement about them. It's an incredibly deep like ladder.
Mate,
it's great for the comp.
When 16th is beaten 7th.
Yeah.
And I mean...
And they've won easily in the end.
Melbourne win that game, they go clear. They would have been pretty much clear third.
Yeah.
Then you have Richmond and North Melbourne. Now, these are the 2 teams that I just genuinely have no excitement, no hope, no nothing. North Melbourne are the worst side in the AFL for the last how many years do you reckon, Johnny?
Last 4 or 5.
They're just shit. I can't even talk about them.
No.
I don't even really know
Richmond we give grace because they're at the end. We know they're done.
Yeah.
But North have been there for ages, and look at what West Coast are doing.
West Coast are exciting.
What are Hawthorn doing?
But what's exciting about that, and North need to take a leaf out of West Coast book. I mean, getting a player like Harley Reid, yes, he's been the most anticipated number 1 draft pick, like the most exciting since who? I think since...
Who do you reckon he's... Well, since Nick Dacos.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we forget.
We
Nick Dacos averaged 25 touches in his first same games.
Dacos was number 1, wasn't he?
Number 1 pick, no. He was a number 1 pick.
What was he?
He would have been... Where did Collingwood finish that year? He would have been 4th? 3rd or 4th? He was a number 1 pick.
I meant like most hyped number 1 pick in a while. I don't know who would have been.
I mean, you have to go back. I mean, Nick Rewalt was a really good number 1 pick. Luke Hodge.
Harley Reid. I know those are 2, like Nick Rewalt and Luke
Harley
Hodge.
Reid, and it's good that he's in Perth. Like he's like when Ben Cousins came onto to them, and that's big shoes to fill. Ben Cousins was a fucking champion, absolute genuine champion, and he wasn't as good as this guy in his first 9 games.
Just make sure he takes the right travel bags with him. Sorry, too far.
Let's go to the...
Cousins is a fucking weapon. I love him. I'm sorry, that was harsh.
Let's go to next round.
Yeah, fill us in. Who's in round 11? Who's playing?
We got a cracking... It's a cracking game, and good luck to the tippers. You've got the Bulldogs, Jekyll and Hyde, versus Sydney at Marvel.
What's a Jekyll and Hyde? Is it the name of them?
Jekyll and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He was a serial killer in London, where a guy would moonlight as one person and be a different person and kill people.
Nice.
The Bulldogs are Jekyll and Hyde. Which one are we going to get? That's a good game at Marvel. Like they're second on percentage. So they could rock up and easily roll them,
I actually
or
think-
they could lose by 80 points.
Marvel's a very similar ground to the SCG, though small, very much how Sydney play their style. So
A bit bigger, though, than the SCG.
yeah,
Just a
but
little bit.
it's a lot more, like in terms of the G.
And then you've got Fremantle and Collingwood. Collingwood have been decimated by injuries over in Perth. That becomes a good Friday night clash. Then you've got the Ripper Saturday afternoon of North Melbourne and Port Adelaide. Can they win? Can they win in Hobart?
That's the fucking
Can
joke,
they get
Johnny.
their first
That
win?
is a joke.
They can't.
They can't. They're done. Good hype. Well done.
Then, so this becomes a real... Now we've got two really interesting games to round off the Saturday afternoon. Carlton and Gold Coast. I would have penciled that down, and I still think Carlton will win. But the Suns are playing bloody good football.
Well, on the ladder position.
Can they win?
Who's favourites?
Carlton.
By how much?
It's $1.40 to $2.92.
I'm surprised they're actually in the $2 range.
But the Suns
only
have
early
not
days.
won away.
Oh, they're done.
This is their problem.
Is that at Marvel or G?
Marvel. Then we've got Geelong and GWS, both sides who were premiership favourites 3 weeks ago. Who both teams need a win there.
Yeah. Well, one of them's gonna.
Yeah.
It's great,
Then
actually.
we've got the Bombers' second tune-up game in the row. What a fucking run you guys have. It's kissed on the dick.
They were like, this team hasn't won a final. Let him out. Give him two chances.
Essendon didn't have it hard enough with North Melbourne. Let's make it a little bit easier on them.
Give him Richmond.
Give them Richmond, and I think this one could be dangerous for Richmond because they're just horrible.
That'd be great.
Now this game, Josh, now becomes a little bit more exciting with the way they're playing. Hawthorn versus Brisbane at Marvel.
Yeah, that is big.
That actually becomes much more entertaining. Much better than the next game in Melbourne and St Kilda. Melbourne, just smack them, please. Just don't. I know you had your thing off against West Coast. Just put this side to bed.
That's at the G, yeah?
That's at the G. And then finishing it off, Adelaide versus West Coast in Adelaide. You think Adelaide get the points at home?
I don't.
We'll keep that for the...
Yeah, we'll keep that for the preview.
But how good a round's that again?
It's a cracking round.
Like,
Can't-
that's... Good luck with the tippers again. I'll tip 9 this week, but don't worry about it.
What'd you get last week?
4.
5. That's a stitch up. Anyway, guys, that wraps up the recap of round 10 in the AFL. The Sir Douglas Nichols round. What a round it was. It's such an open league. Please, you know the drill, guys. Like, subscribe, and
Ring the fucking bell.
we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.